Well, they closed down the mill and they closed down the mine. They said you can't work but pay your taxes on time. Got 3 little babies gonna starve to death or freeze. We started making white lightning, it was Grandpa's recipe. Run, rebel, run to nowhere. Run, rebel, run to the Scott County Jail.
Hey everybody, happy Thursday night. Happy now middle of August. We are back here live at the historic Scott County Jail with another great guest and another great week. So you're locked in for the next hour with myself and my co-host, Dr. Kristin Sumner.
Hey everybody, thanks for joining us. I was just laughing on the intro with Sally. When she pops up, it's just so funny because she just looks like, get that camera out of my face.
That's typical Sally.
But hey everybody, thank you for joining us tonight. We're very excited about tonight's guest. We're going to be talking about some really cool things and some really cool projects that she's working on. So thanks for coming in and joining us. But as Miranda said, it's been a heck of a week. If you watched our live on Sunday, we had some very interesting things happen, and we'll talk about that here in just a few minutes. But
how about that Appalachian storytellers video? I know we had him on 2 weeks ago, and then last week we had another great show where we were highlighting evidence from other teams that have been here in a section, whatever that we were calling They Did Time. And we talked a little bit about the Appalachian storyteller and his video. He released it on Saturday night. So we hope that if you haven't seen it yet, that you will go and check it out. We did share a link on the page. And if you're actually watching this podcast because you found us from his video, thank you so much and welcome.
Yeah, thank you for joining us. And we appreciate everybody who's here tonight just tuning in. And if you have any questions for our guest, once we bring her on, please put those in all caps so we know to get to those questions. But it's going to be a great conversation with her. We're really looking forward to bringing her on. But yeah, the Appalachian storyteller, he did a great job just really summarizing some of the history here at the historic Scott County Jail and some of our resident spirits, really kind of highlighting those and kind of what led to what we believe is are some of the hauntings here at the historic Scott County Jail. So he really put together a great video, and we want to thank him for really highlighting us.
Yeah. I mean, it was such an amazing video. We share a lot of stories from the history here at the historic Scott County Jail. And as we're doing our tours, on those big tours, because we cover so many stories, we don't get to go into as much detail. Hello, Sally.
Bye, Sally.
Speaking of tales there, we don't get to go into as much detail, but, he did such an amazing job of painting a picture of just showing how going into the detail of some of these events that happened here at the jail. Really, if you're sitting there listening, it's not for the faint of heart. And thank you, Bob. Bob shared a link to that video. So if you haven't checked that out, click on the link and go watch it. But we did sort of a little homework assignment with this video because last Sunday was the 99th anniversary of one of our resident spirits of his murder, which was Sheriff R.D. Richard R.D. Ellis. And so we did a live with that. We asked you to watch the video and to come back with questions and stuff because we were specifically highlighting his death, and we were wanting to see if we got activity. So was a fun live.
It was a great live. And, thank you to everybody who came and asked questions. They were amazing questions, some that we didn't even think about. We did use some different techniques that we hadn't used before, used the Seer app. We had 2 different tripwires in 2 different locations, and we're getting simultaneous responses to our questions. So
cool.
if you didn't get a chance to watch the live, we encourage you to go check it out, because it really does highlight some of the things that happen here at the historic Scott County Jail. I mean, we've used the tripwires here with great success, but we've never had an instance where we split them up and went to 2 different locations, which were 25 feet away. One was outside, one was inside, but yet we have simultaneous responses to the questions that we're asking. So it was something that unique that we tried, and we're really excited about the outcome of that. So again, thank you for everybody who watched it.
Yeah, and a lot of different experiments. And when we did our Seer sessions and Estes method sessions, we were actually floors apart asking questions. And some of the questions that we were asking were questions that you guys were putting in there and actually either not calling them out live or validating it. The person who was calling it out and what they were seeing was legit answering the questions that you guys were asking or that we were asking from floors apart. So, that was neat. And then when we were separated, Chris was in the drunk tank area, which is somewhere that Richard Ellis is always at. And then, of course, I was out front where Richard Ellis was killed. And so it was really cool. And so we definitely go back, check it out, and we will snip some of that at some point. And at some point when we get free time.
Yeah.
And
So
put it out there.
Dee, we do, we just haven't had time. We've been so busy since we did that on Sunday. We've been doing a lot of different things over the last couple of days. So we haven't really had time to listen to it. But as Miranda said, we will go back, listen, clip anything that we find. But again, thank you all for watching. We had a lot of fun. And if you want to see more like this, we will absolutely do more lives like this, both at here and at Rugby. So, we will definitely do that if you guys are interested in that.
Yeah.
But go ahead.
No. So speaking of that and some of the interesting things that we've got going on, you're definitely going to want to mark your calendars because we are doing a special meet and greet book signing. Last week, we announced the re-release of the 2nd edition of the High Winds Quest for Rome book by J.H. Gason. A lot of you have purchased the book, read it, and visited on the other meet and greets. Well, this book that he's put out, the re-release here, and I'm actually going to make that full screen. The re-release, it's got a new cover. It's got new formatting on it that makes it a lot more visually pleasing and easier to read. And then also he's added maps to either the grave sites of the folks who were major players in this book and also the sites that were accounted for in the book. He's got maps in there about that. So that's really cool.
Yeah. So he will be here on September 7th doing a book signing. So if you're in the area and you want to stop by the jail, get a copy of the book, have him sign it and autograph it, talk to him about his research that he did on this. He's a very interesting guy to talk to. So yeah, come on out September 7th. So that's one of the things that we've got going on this month.
Yeah. And we actually had him on our podcast very, very early on. It was, I think, in one of the first top 10 episodes, I think. So you can go back and you can actually learn more about the book and bone up on your history on that, and then come in, meet him, and get yourself a new re-released edition of that.
And a couple other things that we do here besides book signing is we do guided ghost hunts. And so Miranda actually had a very cool group here the other night.
Yeah, it's been a time for birthdays. I tell you what, we've had people who have wanted to spend their birthdays with us either at the jail or at Historic Rugby. I know the week before you had, we had a group at Historic Rugby, and it was very active. And so then this past week we had a lady who was her very first ghost hunt, and so she invited some of her friends. They came out on last Saturday night, and caught kind of an interesting capture. Our new investigators catch some pretty cool things on these guided ghost hunts. And so wanted to share about this experience. So our guided ghost hunts, they're 3 hours. We take you out there, and it goes from 9 p.m. until midnight. And so 2nd floor, that that area was originally maximum security and then later trustee area. This is cell number, I believe that's number 2. Yeah. This one has had a lot of different occurrences that have been seen in here. Everything from shadow figures to arms waving out the door at people. And one particular apparition that people sees tends to be sitting on the bed. And so we were all set up here in the foyer. Each of us, there was 4 of us total, were sitting in each of the door frames. If you watched the live back a few months ago, this is the same room where the shadow figure walked in front on the live. But as we were sitting there, one of the ladies had a flare.
But now there's nobody in this cell. When right? So you're not sitting in all individuals, and there's nobody in the cell.
No, there's nobody in the cell.
Okay.
And so there was a lady sitting across the hall, and she went to snap a picture with a thermal camera. And let me just, whoops, sorry. And this is what she captured in the doorway. And so I wanted to highlight like this because we wanted to show you the room before, because there was no lights on. It was completely dark. There was no sunset because it was at 10 p.m. And so there was nothing reflecting in this image.
Yeah, so you can see where the bunks are. If you want to just take your mouse, you can see where the bunks are. You can see where the door frames are. So those are the bunk beds, the blue window in the background. Again, there's nobody sitting in this cell. She's just holding the FLIR out, and this image just appeared, and she was able to take a quick snapshot of it.
Yeah.
So, and we're very fortunate that she did, because that's pretty interesting.
Yeah. Yeah. So again, those are some of the cool things that's captured on a guided ghost hunt. If you are interested in doing that, if you're not a member of a team and you would like to join us for a guided ghost hunt, we have those on the calendar through the remainder of the year, and we offer those both at Historic Rugby and here at the Historic Scott County Jail.
Yep.
So just making sure I hadn't missed anything. And 2 more other things. We do have the British Car Show and Festival that's coming up at Historic Rugby on Saturday. What's the time on that, Chris?
From 9 a.m. until 3 p.m. We will have our table set up, giving out information about Historic Rugby After Dark. So if you're in the area, come to the British Car Show there at Rugby. It's going to be a really good time.
Yep.
And then we've got a lot of different festivals and fairs and conventions and stuff that we're going to be at through the month of September. So go to our website. They're all there. If you have any place that you're going to be, if you want to stop by and see us, if you're in the area, but just go to our website on the events page, and you can see all of the places that we will be set up, giving out information about the Historic Scott County Jail and Historic Rugby After Dark.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. So that was taken care of. But now, talking about information on historic and haunted locations, our guest is really cool. So she reached out to us a few weeks ago and asked if both the Historic Scott County Jail and Historic Rugby After Dark would be interested in being a part of her book that she's putting together. This is the 2nd iteration. And so please welcome Kristin Velovitch. I'm sorry, Kristin, if that's
Velovitch.
Yeah.
Hi. Kristin Velovitch.
There you go. Thank you. So, Kristin, we are really excited about having you tonight, and thank you so much for including Historic Scott County Jail and Historic Rugby After Dark in the book that you're putting together. We're going to be getting to that in just a second, so you can explain to everybody what you're doing. But first, tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got involved in the paranormal.
Yeah, so I'm an October baby. So every birthday growing up was Halloween themed. So I like the spooky and scary stuff right off the bat. When I was a kid, there was a show, I don't know if anyone else remembers it, called MTV Fear.
Oh, yeah.
And it was like basically kind of like ghost hunting. Like they'd drop these people off at haunted places and then had like different things that they'd have to go and do. And I wanted to be on that so bad. Like I would love to be on it. So that's kind of like what got me started in like the spooky kind of stuff. And then the first ghost hunt I went on was at Ohio State Reformatory in Mansfield, Ohio. So
you started big.
Yeah,
I did.
Wow, you're not a cemetery, you got to go to Ohio State Reformatory.
Me and my good friend from college went, and we were terrified. Like the first time I remember like just being like, kind of sitting there and they're like, stuff's going on upstairs. And we're like, we're fine right here. Whereas now it's the opposite. Like if they're like, stuff's going on upstairs, I would run up there so fast.
Of course.
But yeah, so went there and then kind of a little hiatus. And then one of the local like history centers would do a ghost hunt twice a year. And then I went there and then that's like really when I got hooked, like, and it never stopped from there.
It never does.
No,
No.
it doesn't. It's like tattoos, right? You got to get another place booked, right?
Right.
So did you have an interest in the paranormal before you went to Ohio State, or is it just something that you were drugged to and it just bit you?
No, I loved all the shows, like any sort of paranormal show on TV, like I just ate up. So, and I mean, there's like the town that I grew up in, like has a lot of historic buildings and different stuff. So kind of growing up around that and all the like urban legends of stuff that happens, you know, that's spooky and scary. Like, yeah, I just ate it up. I wanted all of it.
Did you believe before you did it, or was it some type of specific occurrence that you experienced that caused you to just really know that there's just definitely something out there?
I believed before I had an experience. I was like, because I also have a very scientific mind. So for me, it's like, obviously something happens, right? Like after we pass. And I was just kind of like craving that like validation. And then it's like, once you do witness something, then it's like, you know, again, like you're hooked. You're like, now I want to, you know, test this theory out, or I want to try this, or I want to go here, or, you know, and it just, yeah, it never stops.
James Brady on here says, where did you grow up?
Yeah, so I'm from Ohio. Right now I live in Cleveland, Ohio, but I originally grew up in Lisbon, Ohio, which it confuses a lot of people. So where we're at is our county borders both Pennsylvania and West Virginia.
Okay.
So people think that we're further south than what we are, but it's like that little piece of like West Virginia that like comes up. Like we would drive, like if we were going to Pittsburgh, we would drive through like 5 miles of West Virginia or whatever.
Okay.
To get to PA. So kind of like midway down the state, but like up against like West Virginia, Pennsylvania.
So you're kind of actually near, not far from what, Bel Air House and Moundsville?
When I grew up, yeah. Like
Oh,
Moundsville. Yeah. I don't remember how far it would be because I wasn't really driving that direction at that age. Like now I'm like, I know how far it is from my house here. But yeah, so yeah, like Wheeling, West Virginia and stuff was not super far away, and Moundsville wouldn't be much further. So
Gotcha.
So you're in a great you're just in a great area all around for paranormal investigations, right? You know, there's a lot of places here in Tennessee, and you know, a lot of obviously the other states have things, but I really think that Ohio, Pennsylvania, West Virginia, Virginia area, that core there really has some great places. And you know, I'm really excited to hear kind of where you've been, some of the places you've been to, and that kind of will catapult us into your project.
Yeah. Oh yeah. We're very lucky. And I like won't jump too far ahead, but like researching places for Ohio, like at one point I was like, I have to stop. Like, cause otherwise the project's going to go on forever and ever. Cause there's so many, but like right now I live about, thank you. That's my husband telling me. He's like my, oh, and then there's my dad.
Well, at least you've got a supportive family. That's fantastic.
Right. Nothing's up there. And my dad is actually 72 miles from Moundsville.
Hey, Dad. Hey, husband.
I love the preciseness.
Right. I know, right?
But so, like, I'm about 20 minutes away from Madison Seminary, which I think that you guys had said you had investigated. Or maybe it was
I have.
Okay. Yeah, so I actually volunteer there. So having a great place like that 20 minutes away, Mansfield's an hour and a half. West Virginia is not that bad. Like there's just so many places that we can hit like from this area. And my team is we kind of got the entire perimeter of Ohio covered. So we kind of get to hit up, you know, a bunch of different places.
Gotcha. So you actually have a paranormal team.
Yep.
Okay. How many team members are on it?
So there's, I always joke, like, we're predominantly women. So there's 5 of us ladies that are kind of like the core group, plus the husband that's drug along. Not mine. Mine sits upstairs and watches. Like, mine does not come with. And then we have like a few others that, you know, kind of join us. So kind of like 5 ladies plus the unsure husband who we love. My best friend. And yeah, so that's like our kind of core group.
We've had a couple teams like that have come. They're all women, and they've got the one dude. It's the one husband, and he comes along. He usually carries the equipment and brings the snacks, and usually is one of the drivers that tolerates the women. And it's so funny because they usually won't want to be in the group picture, and sometimes they will, but then they're always like, he's our resident skeptic, but it's always a lot of fun when they come in.
Yeah, the one that comes to mind is the Ghost Girls and Wayne.
Yeah.
I love that. Yeah, that's kind of like how ours is. Ours is kind of Woke Paranormal plus Derek. So
there you go.
There you go.
Paranormal Girl plus
and Rachel says to tell us about your angsty photo shoot.
That's one of my team members. So
hey, Rachel.
One of the things that I feel like ghost hunting is like 50%. Yeah, my husband hunts deer, not ghosts. I feel like ghost hunting is like 50% ghost hunting and 50% fashion. So everyone has matching fanny packs that I made, but they all have different color. Like, I'm the fashion coordinator. So I love taking angsty photos, like anywhere we go. Half of my team's on board, like half is not. But we have some really fun angsty photos of each other.
It's so fun. Now, how long have y'all been a team?
So I was just about to ask that.
Yeah. So the co-founder of the group is Lauren, and I've known her since I was 6. Like, we've literally grown up our entire lives together. So I don't remember a time that I didn't know her. Yeah, there's an angsty photo. Well, that's not angsty, but that's the fashion photo.
I love it.
Yeah,
I love it.
Like their own colored fanny packs. Even our resident husband, he has we call it the Manny. It's a check, so he doesn't get,
That is awesome.
Yeah, so the one to my left, so the one with the orange fanny pack, that's Lauren.
Okay.
Like I said, I've known her my entire life. Next to her is her husband, Derek, who also went to school with us, and then his sister, Jamie. So kind of like from me to the right, or in the right of the picture, we all grew up together. And then Rachel and Terry, or to the other side of me, in the gray and blue. And I actually collected them at Mansfield Reformatory. I was like, hey, you guys are cute. And you're girls, and I bet you like shiny things. You should be mine.
There you go.
Yeah. So, yeah.
Great energy. I love that.
That is fantastic.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's kind of like, so Lauren and I, like I said, we grew up. She likes the spooky stuff too. She lived down the road from me. So we would like bike to each other's houses and then like walk in the woods, like in the dark, and be all scared and stuff. So it was great.
Did they share the same passion for the paranormal that you did from the beginning? Like, was this one of those things you had to kind of drag them into, or?
Just Derek. I feel like, yeah, Lauren has always been into that stuff with me, and she didn't go to the Mansfield with me at first, but she was one of the ones that went with me to the Lake County Historical Society, like for one of the first hunts. So we kind of went there, and then, we're like, we should do this again. Mm-hmm. And then the great thing is that when it's the two of you, like, you still have a lot of opportunities, but the more that we've grown, now we can book private investigations and do other things that we weren't financially able to or realistically able to before. So that's been a part of it.
I've heard great things about the Lake County Historical Society. I'm a twin, so we were going to go to Twinsburg for the Twins Day Festival, and I was thinking about booking that location, but they didn't have an availability when I needed it. So, but I've heard it's a great location.
Oh yeah, it is. It's an amazing place. I haven't been there in a couple years, because now I'm spoiled and I want like private investigations where I can do my own thing.
Of course.
But I love it. Like some of the craziest things have happened there. Trying to think, like trying to separate out like what everything has happened, like at different places. But there is a cat. I did see like a ghost kitty at the historical society. So that was kind of cool. Like watch it run like between rooms and stuff. So
that's cool.
Yeah.
So Sally, thank you for the
the transition.
The transition to the story.
She's good about that.
Right.
She knows when she's needed.
Yeah,
that's right. And so let's kind of talk a little bit about how you went from investigating there to your project. Tell us a little bit more about your project.
Right. So talking about how I collected team members is a great segue into what I did now. So I had I'm downstairs in my basement. So I'm like in my craft space. So don't mind everything, but I have all my visual aids. So I love to collect stuff. So my husband got me this a few years ago. This is for the Ohio State Parks. And it has different, try and show so it has kind of info about the park, the address and stuff. And then you can get a stamp at the place or there's stickers at the back. So he got me this because he knows I love to collect things. I've always been a collector of whatever I can get my hands on. So that went to then the National Parks book. And
way to upsell, Kurt. Good job.
Yes. So, right, which benefits him because this is one part where our interests align, not the ghost hunting. But this, we went to Alaska a few years ago. So I got to collect my Alaska stamps, which is cool because those are sometimes a once in a lifetime kind of chance to get to go and visit some of these places. So it was while I was in Alaska, I was talking to one of my friends with my book. I had it ready. This was the first thing I packed was this book. And so I was talking to her and I'm like, I already got one stamp and I'm going to a new one tomorrow and I get another one. I'm so excited. And then at the same time,
don't you love having dad
Good
on
job,
there?
Dad.
Yeah. So then it was almost kind of at the same exact moment because I knew her. I collected her at ghost hunting too. They're a crew from Michigan, and I met them at Madison Seminary during one of our public hunts. I was volunteering there, and they came, and I was like, "You guys have matching shirts. You're mine." They know. I have the picture of them when I first met them. I was like, "You guys are so cute. Can I take your picture?" And the rest is history. So yeah, if you're dressed alike, you're mine. So just beware if you ever meet me. Wear something sparkly or dressed alike. So after talking to Becca, my friend from Michigan, at the same time, we're like, we need to go hunting. And that's where this came in. So I loved the different things that I had for the parks. And then I was like, now I need to combine another collecting and ghost hunting. So it's collecting in parks. Now it's collecting and ghost hunting. And so this idea actually happened a few years ago. And it was one of those things where we're like, we're going to work on it. We'll get to it. We're going to start it soon. And it just kept getting pushed aside, right? Life was too busy and didn't happen. So this is a part of the story where not trying to get sympathy, but just it's part of the story. So last September, actually when I was at MadCon at Madison Seminary, I ended up having a ruptured brain aneurysm and was in ICU for a while and then was off work for about 5 months. So a nice little $50,000 hair.
Wow.
So I'm a pharmacist usually. During the day, I'm a pharmacist. So it kind of kicked me on my butt. And the first couple months, it was just rest, sleep, heal, all of those things, literally recover from brain surgery. And then a little bit later, then I'm like, now I'm getting antsy. I need to do something I can't just sit here and not do anything. So I'm like, now would be a great time to do this. Like I have the time. That was the first time I was on my laptop in like months.
Wow.
Like you're on a computer was when I started this. Yes. I don't know. Nice to meet you, fellow aneurysm and surgery survivor. So yeah, it's, like I always say it was therapy in more than one way. And it was therapy like for my soul, because it was something that I had wanted to do so bad and for so long. And it was literally physical therapy too. Like typing on a laptop and emailing people and picking up the phone and calling people and asking questions. It really like got like my brain working that way again, kind of like the more stuff that I'm used to. So, I ended up, now I need to look back at the dates. I think that by the time I was done with my medical leave, I had just sent it off to the printer, like for the first book.
Wow.
Wow.
It was such a huge like accomplishment and something that I was so proud of and so excited about. And like, it just really, like it got me going again. And so, yeah, like I said, not meant to be sad or like,
to your point,
No,
I mean,
that's
it's part of the story,
fantastic.
right?
Yeah.
And, not to, be morbid, but if it hadn't happened, this book probably hadn't have happened,
it wouldn't-
right?
Yeah. This
And
would not
so,
be right now.
so tell us a little bit about your process. Like, first of all, how many locations are in the passport? Kind of, and let me just backtrack for a second. When you approached us to be in the second iteration of this book, what we really appreciated, and Miranda and I sat down and talked about this, what we really appreciated was the fact that you contacted us.
Yes.
And you said, this is who I am. This is what I do. I would love to include you in this. And I want to get all the facts correct before I put anything out. Would you want to be involved? And two, can you answer these questions? And, like I said, we sat and talked about it because a lot of people just take the stories of the jail or of rugby or photographs or whatever, and just put it on things without our consent or without asking. So the fact that you approached us in such a professional manner, all that to say, well, let's talk about your process of writing the first book, and then we'll move on to the second.
Yeah. So, so I am the science brains of the family. My sister's a lawyer. So she I always kind of in the back of my head, I feel like it's always something that would be important anyways, but always in the back of my head, I'm like, I have to do this legal. Like, taking images that are not mine.
Yes.
No, like I checked if the font was available, like for commercial use. Like I made sure everything was
good for you.
Completely legal, 100%. And I own a copyright on it. So obviously I must have done a good job because I have a certificate upstairs with the copyright.
Good for you.
But yeah, so I really wanted to make sure that everyone knew what I was doing. Well, the first book I didn't say until a little bit later. Like I just said, I'm working on a project, collecting information. Here's what I'm collecting, and I want to make sure it's okay with you. Now, since the first book's out, it's a little bit easier to say this is what's, what it is.
Yeah.
But like I don't want to get any information wrong. Like for the historical fact, I don't want to get your amenities that you have wrong, your information on how to book or websites or anything. So yeah, not one location or anything in this book was taken without like explicit permission from whoever, owned it or worked there or managed it or whatever.
Absolutely. And I love that because, because my background's in marketing and graphic design. And, so many times people don't take the right steps for that. And then they'll turn around and scream, it's free advertising for you. But it's not free advertising if it's inaccurate, if the name is wrong, if they don't send you to a specific place, if they get the stuff wrong. So I really applaud you for taking that time to do that. And when you're essentially also building a relationship with these locations, because what you're doing does really help and doing it the right way does really help to
Mhm.
get the name out and what we're doing to people who may have never heard of this small little jail
Yes.
over here in East Tennessee.
Yeah. Oh, and I mean, and if it weren't for this, I would have never heard of, you guys. And so now, like, you're on the top of my list for next year. And some of the
You found
places,
us. We're hers.
That's right.
I don't know. So if my husband can look up how far they've done in the town, he'll have it like map, pulled up in a minute. But so, like, there's been a few places too. Thank you. There's been a few places too that are primarily like museums. And they've told me, they're like, we really rely heavily on paranormal investigations because it's a big income, like,
Yes.
money maker for them. And, I feel like those places are the most important.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Rachel MapQuest it.
Come on, Rachel.
Yeah. She's in Dayton.
And not to interrupt, it's good to see Peggy on there.
Yeah.
Peggy's actually how I found you guys, which I'll get to her. And I love that more. Like,
She just comes in all by herself in here investigating.
She's the goat.
Love her.
We literally, so not to spoil or anything, but like, we absolutely adore Peggy, and we made a Peggy fan club. And raised some money for her because she was very generous to a lot of us with giving investigations and different things. So we made a Peggy fan club. We designed shirts, we sold them, and then we donated that money to her as Airbnb, like, for when she travels these places.
Oh, that's cool.
So we just love Peggy. I didn't wear my Peggy is the goat shirt. I didn't but I have several. Peggy is the goat. But yeah, see, they've got me all discombobulated now.
Oh.
Sorry about that. You were saying, and we just got a note. Paul has looked that up, 406.5 miles. So
I don't think I've traveled that far before for a ghost hunt. So.
It's worth it. Listen, it's worth it. There's so many places, as you know, there's so many places down here.
Yes. Right. But yeah, so back to what I was saying, like, meeting some of these people that I otherwise wouldn't have met or known about, because I really wanted to make sure the book was a good mix of like big name locations, like obviously Ohio State Reformatory. Pretty much everyone knows about it, right? But not everyone knows about like the Burn Bray Mansion, that's an Airbnb, or like a bed and breakfast, I'm sorry, or historic Palmyra, or the Greene County Museum in PA, like a lot of those places. So my goal is to not profit off of you guys. It's to really be a thing where I can help other people find you that might not have known about you before, not all of them. So, I feel like with like the stranger danger, like with some of these people, they're like, what's the catch? Like, there has to be a catch. I'm like, no, like, this is my way of being able to collect you. And hopefully it's your way of getting people to find out about you that might not have. So,
and we did grill you, pretty good whenever you called, because you sent a message. People had I love how you did it. You reached out first to Facebook to get places in the different areas, because you do categorize your books, which we'll talk about here in a minute, by different areas. And then I know we were recommended from folks here, and so and so you mentioned us or emailed us, and it's like, well, let's have a conversation, because we have had stuff happen in the past and I mean, we grilled you pretty hard.
You did. I loved it. Well, I got off the phone and I was like,
so let's go back real quick to the first one, and then, like I said, we'll get to the second one. But just kind of, how many places did you approach? What was the reception like? Did you have a good response? Obviously, it's easier on the second iteration, but kind of what was your process to that first one?
Yeah. So of course, my husband, if he can hook it to football somehow, then he'll drive me.
As long as you wear
got
orange.
Priorities.
Right. Yeah. So I feel like for the Great Lakes region, which is the first one that's out now, it was, when I was kind of hush about, what I was actually doing, just because I didn't want anyone to steal my idea, because I didn't know how long it would take, or if it would get done or if it would be one of those things that then it stalled. And I didn't want someone to steal the idea from what I had done. So like for probably the first 75% of the places, it was just kind of like, hi, I'm working on a project listing locations. Would you be interested? And then I always like, once I'm done, I always like circle back around and talk to those people like, okay, it's going to print. Now it's printed. Do you want any for like a gift shop? Do you want the stamp? Do you want different things? So kind of try to keep them involved in the process, you know, the entire time. So I feel like the Great Lakes region was pretty receptive. I mean, like I didn't really have anyone that was like, I don't think so. One of the locations, I'm not going to mention names at all, was very particular about making sure the information that was in there was like okayed by them. Which is fine because that's what I wanted to, that's what I was doing anyways. And she had told me too, she's like, I wish more people were like you because people don't do this. They just use the information, the pictures, you know, the history, whatever, and don't ask my permission first. So she was excited, you know, ended up being very excited about it. The only pushback, or not even say pushback, the only like people that have declined for the second book are places that are also either like a state park or like a city park. Like I don't, the second one, I'm not sure if it's like a state park or whatever, because obviously that's not the only thing they do. It's a very small part of their business. So they just didn't want people to kind of get the idea in their head to trespass or to do anything, you know, without them, you know, their permission. So that was something I was like, that's why I ask, you know, like, and it is explicitly written like in the intro to the book, like this is not me saying to urban explore, to trespass, to vandalize, like anything. Like I will have no part of that. And this book is not encouraging that either. So.
And that's what that really helps too, where you definitely go and you list all the different options that we have, encouraging people. When someone just throws your name out there on something, it's like, you never know if they're encouraging people to, I mean, they're not sending them anywhere. So they're not really encouraging them to go through the proper channels. And so, like I said, I can't applaud you enough for that. And so I'm actually, you've been kind enough to share, you know, just a little sneak preview of some things here. And so your first book, Great Lakes Region. And so the reason we're part of this conversation is we're going to be included in your next.
Paranormal Passport Appalachia. So I'm so excited for this one. The whole reason I started with Great Lakes is because that's where I live and a lot of the places I had been to, but because of our proximity to, you know, West Virginia and Kentucky and like some of the different places, like I have like visited a handful of these places as well.
Of course.
So that's what, you know, I'm excited because I feel like once I venture further than this, because the plan is to do the entire country.
All regions,
like,
right.
I will do one everywhere. So once I get past this one, we're going to be into places that I've never been before at all. So I'm super excited for, you know, like the Great Lakes in this one, the Appalachia, because I feel like a lot of the people that, or at least that I know, you know, like we have hit up a lot of these places too.
So how many people, I mean, how many places are going to be highlighted in the Appalachian one?
So I'm still working on getting permission from everyone. So some of those numbers are changing. I don't know yet. The Great Lakes ended up, I believe, having 59.
Oh, fantastic.
Locations. Yeah, over 8 states. So there'll be 7 in this one. So there are going to be a little bit less, but I don't have an exact number yet. Like one of the places I was reaching out to ended up getting sold, you know, like in different things. So hopefully, you know, I'm really trying to wrap it up soon so I can get this, you know, to print. But yeah, don't have a number yet. It won't be 60, but there's going to be, I would say, a solid 30 to 40, hopefully more.
Nice.
Fantastic. And like I said, I love the way that you've got this set up. It's very straightforward. It has interesting facts. You know, it's got the little full moon phase and stuff there. I mean, it's very neat that people can just take this with them, write about their experience, and have almost like a keepsake.
Yeah.
You also mentioned the stamps. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah. So obviously you can't have a passport without also having a stamp to go with it.
Yep.
So I have an example of a stamp here. So the cool thing about these two is that I had these made at a local library. So
Nice.
you can kind of see.
That's
And then,
cool.
like, I put them together. But yeah, they were done at a library that had a grant for like a bunch of STEM stuff, basically. So laser engravers, 3D printer, like just everything. So this is also like helping them out too.
Yep.
By getting the stamps done there. So if people pre-order the book, I included a stamp for free. And hopefully, like, the goal also is to get a lot of the locations to have them, so then you can get them stamped there, or you can buy the stamp as well if you didn't get one either of those ways. So my goal or my vision would be that every location has a stamp and people are lining up at your place to investigate and get their books stamped and write down, because I feel like then like this copy is mine, like, because now this is my like ghost hunting story.
Yeah.
Every single passport will be different, which I think is awesome.
It is.
So also, since I kind of talked about angsty photos and fashion and everything, I also have mine color coded because,
Nice.
of course.
Ah.
So I have like my main group is kind of Woke Paranormal, so that's pink. And
Okay.
then I have my Michigan friends that it doesn't look green, but this is a green here. So depending on who I investigated with, it is
That's a neat idea.
color coded, you know,
I love
based
that.
on that. So yeah, so I'm extra. And then
You are.
Yes, and I love it. Apparently other people do too because they keep entertaining me. But then, like, you know, like my information, you know, like is written now in pink because I investigated with my team. So yeah, like it's yours to make
Yeah.
however you want it. Like the example that you pulled up is like I have an example in each book, and it's kind of cool because the so this public investigation at Helltown that I have for the example in the Great Lakes region. Helltown is like an urban legend in like near Cuyahoga Valley National Park, which isn't too far from me. So all of these are fictional. I have not been there because there's no public investigation. Like
Right.
It's kind of an urban legend. But like I'm a doodler too. So you can see like I drew a little bat and a little ghost and I wrote the moon phase. And of course, every single one is stamped for my birthday. So I visited in a couple months. And then too, if you like zoom in, if you're able to, on the K2 meter,
I really like that.
Yeah, that's your way to rank how the location was.
That's
so
neat.
like how much is your K2 meter going off? So like
That's a
in
cool
my
idea.
book now, yeah, I wrote like for each of the K2s and how I ranked it, I wrote a different word. So like some of the
cool.
locations, maybe like we didn't get a whole lot of like activity, but the location was cool. So I'm ranking the location as a certain thing, which obviously also is color coded.
Yeah.
Like in my
That's nice.
but yeah, so that's kind of like, you know, just my way to really kind of remember and kind of, like I said, write your own story on you know, how your experience was.
That is extremely cool. And it's just, you know, like I said, it's a great idea and it's a way to really kind of bring the community together because you have all these places that are involved with this. And to your point, it also brings recognition to these locations because you didn't know about us until somebody told you, and then we got to know you. And there's places that I don't know about up in Ohio. So I think it's a really great concept to get people to know about that. So now, where are these sold? And tell us a little bit about that process.
Yeah. So, and I'm going to interrupt you for a second and show another thing too, is that each state also has a map. So this is a great way to plan your road trip. So like here, there's a ton, up in this corner of the city. So if you can kind of hit up a few different places, some of them are in the same town. So that's also something too.
That's great.
But
That's great.
to answer your question, so I am selling them right now mainly on my website, like our Square website. I do have them at vendor events that I do. I will be at Indiana State Sanatorium this weekend for ISS Con, and we'll have books there. So I'll have them in person, or you can go to this website and order them.
Very cool.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
And we've got the Linktree site there on the show notes. So if y'all can search through there, but I've also got them pulled up here in the comments section. It also has links to Kristin's team page there on the Linktree page. That way you guys can go and follow everything.
And the way sorry to interrupt, but
no, you're fine.
Right now I'll forget. So the way I found out about you guys was through Peggy Goodell. So on our Kind of Woke Paranormal Facebook page, I made a post, and this is still open to anyone because obviously my dad, my husband, my friend, a few of my friends are on. So maybe there's someone that doesn't know me, or everyone that I told to watch me is just watching me. Sure. But for those that don't know me or that are from that area, obviously like that's like Tennessee, like, and further south is not my like kind of stomping grounds. So on our Facebook page, I have a post with kind of like pinned at the top that if you know any places that offer investigations, please tag them, let me know, because the other thing that also is very important is my acknowledgements. Like everyone that helped at all is an acknowledgement. So if you recommend a place that I don't know yet and they agree, like you're going to be an acknowledgement in the Appalachia book. So especially, like I said, the further I get from home, the less places I will know. So the more I'm going to kind of have to rely on help. But I'm also going to, thank you and acknowledge you for helping me out too. So yeah. So if there's people watching that know places in Kentucky, Tennessee, Virginia, West Virginia, North, South Carolina, and Georgia are the states in this one. If you know any places, please post them on there. Especially the further south I get, the less places I have.
Makes sense. No, that makes sense. And we know a few that we'll recommend for you.
Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. So get your favorites added to that collection, follow. So
yep. And I think we have several people on here from all of those states that you mentioned. So I'm sure you may be getting a list. And your Facebook page again is, what was it, Kind of Woke Paranormal?
Kind of Woke Paranormal. Yep.
Okay. Yep. We're going to put that up here, and Miranda can put it up there, and
you'll see my angsty portraits on there too. I'm pretty sure.
Let's see here.
Yeah, and then
y'all keep talking.
Anybody in the chat right now who knows of a location in any of the states that Kristin mentioned that you think would be great for her book, that'd be receptive, go ahead and go to their Facebook page and answer her post, and I'm sure she'd be glad to get that information.
Yes. Absolutely.
Yeah. And definitely go and follow these teams and people that are doing this stuff. We always talk about our content creators and always talk about folks in the paranormal that's doing stuff. It's great, the ones that go and investigate these locations and help to preserve them. But, we've got these not just investigators, but equipment makers and folks who are doing really cool things like your passport project. So we really appreciate y'all.
So what is the timeline for the Appalachian passport book?
Yeah. So the goal is October.
Okay.
Halloween. There's the pin post with little ghosty on there.
Okay.
That I'm talking about. So, so the goal is Halloween. I would love to have them like actually printed and in hand by Halloween. If not, they'll for sure be pre-order by then.
Okay.
So I do a 2-week pre-order. So because they're spiral bound, I actually have to have them printed like up front. It's not like on Amazon or something where they print them as they're ordered. So I do a pre-order to hopefully get enough orders so I can get that first round of printing done. And then, so I'll do that for 2 weeks. And then it takes probably like 4 to 6 weeks to get them in hand. So because I'm using the same printer, like hopefully it'll be quicker because I don't need like a printed proof and all of that. Like I know that they're beautiful. And I'm using the same template. So hopefully it should look the same.
Yeah.
So hopefully it'll be a little bit quicker. But yeah, definitely pre-order in October. Would love to have them before that, like in hand by October. But
very cool.
Yeah.
And then I know you probably haven't thought about this yet, but after Appalachia, where's the next region?
I have it all planned out.
I expect nothing less of you.
I thought
if you can say.
Yeah, no.
So you probably get a list going.
Yeah.
Right. So I actually have all the covers. I think almost all of the covers designed. I tried to sneak one in the copyright office and copyright all of them at once, and they're like, like we're not going to just copyright the covers. But so yeah, I have them all done. So it's kind of a toss up between the next one being either like New England, or I'm still trying to figure out the exact name for it, but basically kind of like the Gulf Coast region. I love the Gulf Coast region cover. That's probably like, I love that one so much. So it probably is going to be next. But it's a toss up between that and New England. And then I will work my way west.
There you go.
So
there you go.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right, ladies and gentlemen. So if you're in the comment section, no matter where you're at, throw some locations.
Yeah,
Kristin.
please.
She'll put them in her spreadsheet because I know she's got one. So she'll put them in that spreadsheet. So she'll probably list them by state and by county by state. But get those into her, whether you're in Arizona, like Janet, or Florida, or anywhere. I'm sure she'd love to hear from you. So just go to their page and pop it in there in her comment section.
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, I would love to hear from everyone, but the further you are from Ohio, the more excited I am to talk to you. So yeah, definitely send me a message on our Facebook page or email or however. And I will be doing the same kind of posts as I do each region, kind of like here's the region, give me ideas. But I will gladly start a list.
Wonderful.
Fantastic. Well, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I've really enjoyed getting to know you more through this process, and just your project. You can really see your passion for this, and so I'm glad to see it coming together nicely.
Thank you.
And thank you for reaching out and including us. And Peggy, thank you for recommending us. We really do appreciate that. So everybody be on the lookout for the Appalachian Passport, Paranormal Passport, because we will be in it, and a certain jail cat may be in it as well. So, bonus to that.
But first, I mean, my dogs get an acknowledgement, but they're not listed by name. By name as an acknowledgement for the next
Yeah. So that's how she rolls. So, but we can't thank you enough, Kristin, for joining us tonight, for telling us about what you're doing, and for including us in your next iteration of this. We're really excited.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. And thank you all so much that's tuned in here, and with your questions and your comments, get those lists to Kristin. And, like we said in the beginning of the show, definitely check out the Appalachian Storyteller video. Check out last week's episode if you want to see some cool captures that came here from the jail. We will be doing that segment from time to time. It may be a full episode. It may also just be segments during the shows that we have. Check that out. And as we mentioned, don't forget J.H. Gason on September 7th will be here. More information coming on that soon. And British Car Festival there on Saturday.
At Rugby. Yep.
Yeah. So let's see. We will have a show next week, next Thursday night at 7. And if you're still looking for more paranormal and you want to hang out, follow me on over to the Ghost Biker Explorations channel, and I will have Mary Lynn Bast as well as Michael Gagliano from the new paranormal show Para with a Normal. We will be on talking about that, and so hope you guys will come over there, 9 p.m. Eastern time.
All right, everybody, have a great night. Kristin, thank you again so much, and good luck with the Paranormal Passport.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Mm-hmm.